Hello, my friends, all you lovers, my fellow sexual beings. Welcome back to Desire Dialogues, my friends. It's your sex coach, Lauren. We're going to dive into today's fun topic of sexual fantasies, right? Welcome to the podcast. If you're new, welcome. This is a podcast where we dive into the juicy, the tricky, and the taboo sides of like sex, love, and the human experience. So, today we're going to get real about something everyone has, but not everybody knows what to do with. Sexual fantasies, right? Maybe yours are soft and sensual. Maybe they're wild and a little fucking weird. Maybe they involve voyeurism, multiple partners, power dynamics, or just some uninterrupted eye contact and being touched exactly the way you like. So whatever your fantasy is, it deserves a place in your real life intimacy if you want it there. But what do you do when you're kind of scared to share it? Yeah, very scary. I get that. What do you do when your partner freezes the second you bring it up? Ugh. What do you do when your fantasy makes you uncomfortable? That's what this episode is here for. Let's break the shame, normalize the desire, and I'm going to help you bridge the gap between imagination and intimacy without blowing up the vibe, right? Let's start with the obvious. Fantasies are normal, like biologically normal, psychologically normal, and spiritually normal, right? Fantasy is how we explore desire safely. It's how we stretch our imagination. It's also how we understand what excites, scares, or even empowers us, right? And here's the truth. You don't need to want to act on every fantasy to still feel turned on by it, right? Some fantasies are just like mental movies that kind of help us explore different archetypes, right? Explore the taboo, explore the power of them. And others are really deeper desires we might actually want to live out in real life. But until you give yourself permission to feel the fantasy, right, you can't really tell the difference. So we stay stuck in silence, right? Or worse, we stay stuck in shame. So, the fear of sharing, right? Like, what if they judge me? Right, okay. So you have a fantasy, now what? Maybe you want to be dominated. Maybe you want to be watched. Maybe you want to pretend you don't know your partner. And if you're thinking, oh my gosh, if I tell them, will they think I'm weird? Would they think I'm gross? Or not into them the way they are? Like, what if they don't want these fantasies? What if they don't even want to hear about them? Here's the deal. Wanting more doesn't mean your partner isn't enough, right? Being curious doesn't mean that you're unsatisfied with what's already happening. And naming a fantasy doesn't require acting on it right away, okay? So one of the best tools would be the would you be open to approach. Let me break it down to you, right? Here's an example. Would you be open to talking about something I've been thinking about? Or, can I share a fantasy with zero pressure to make it happen with you? Right? This way you create consensual curiosity, and that is fucking sexy. So, okay, how to bring your fantasies into reality safely, right? So, like, how do you actually start weaving fantasy into real life intimacy? Here's a gentle roadmap, my friends. Buckle up, put your seatbelt on, let's do it. First off, number one, start with emotional safety, right? Make sure that the space you're talking in feels safe, pressure-free, and pretty open. There's no shoulds. It's just interest, right? Just being interested. Number two, share without expectation. So you could try something like this. I've been fantasizing about being pinned down, and it's not something I need, but I'm curious to see how that would feel in real life. Notice that there was no pressure, there was no rush, and there was no assumption, right? Number three, scale it down, okay? So you don't need to jump into the full-blown scene, right? You can just start with flavors of the fantasy. So, for example, if the fantasy is being watched, you could try being in the same room, clothes on, while you self-touch. If the fantasy is being taken, try maybe consensual power play language first to start, right? Number four, debrief after. Okay, so this is the after talk where the connection deepens. You can ask, okay, what worked? What was surprising? Is there a version of this out there that feels even better that we can do? And listen, don't forget, you get to change your mind at any time. So, let's see. Okay, like when fantasy doesn't translate, right? Here's the reality check. Not every fantasy will feel good in real life. Sometimes the idea of it is hot, but then in reality, not so much, right? That doesn't mean the fantasy was bad. It means you were curious. And then you learn something about your turn on, right? You might try something and be like, nope, that didn't hit. That's growth. That's embodiment. And you just learn more about yourself. That's awesome. Now you get to keep exploring. You get to keep editing your erotic menu. So my friends, your fantasies are not too much. They're not dirty. They're not dangerous. They're invitations. Invitations into deeper connection, creativity, and self-trust. And if you're ready to explore this deeper, I got you. You can email me and download the Fantasy Integration Starter Guide. Or message me on Instagram too. I got you. It's going to be like a simple supportive workbook that helps you map out your desires and then share them safely, right? So it is there for you. All you got to do is reach out, right? Hey, also too, if you love this episode and you want to hear more, give me a rate or a review. I'd love that. And if this kind of gave you a little idea to kind of spark a conversation with your partner, share this podcast episode with them. Maybe they can share theirs with yours too, with some of the info we covered today. Until next time, my friends, stay curious, speak up, and remember, you're allowed to want what you want when you want.